Entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and we've got a very special guest with us today, Mike Nova. Mike, how are you?
I'm great, Dr. Corsi. It's always a pleasure to see you.
I've been working with Mike for, I guess, now almost a year, and we were introduced through a mutual friend who runs the merchant account business that we utilize, and another really great guy, Steve Morin, one merchant.
Right. That's right.
And we give him a shout out to begin with.
Oh yeah, love Steve. Great guy.
And I've really gotten to spend a lot of time with Mike and be fond of him. We started really getting together. I guess it was last summer in Georgia when I first visited him for maybe 10 days or almost 2 weeks. It was just when I was beginning to do the algorithms, and we were getting involved in that whole business of detecting the voting fraud that's in, and now that's gone. I think, stopped the use of the algorithms in the midterms. We've created God's Five Stones as a foundation, which is doing well. And we're working with Peter Tickton, who is the attorney for President Trump, to actually develop some cases. So Mike and I have had quite a journey together. And the story we're going to tell today, I asked Mike to tell it. Mike is Ukrainian. He's had experience. He's an entertainer. I guess you could tell from his outfit here. He's he's an entertainer. And he does spectaculars. He's got great musician. He composes music. He does big stage productions, and he is Ukrainian, and he has actual firsthand experience with Zelensky in Ukraine. And I'm going to have Mike tell that story today, because we're going to reveal some things about Zelensky that are not commonly known. And I want Mike to give us an idea of his life, where he's going. I know him to have very, very strong Christian faith. Yep. And I know him to be a moral man who is living a life in accordance with the principles of Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
And so, Mike, why don't you start out by the story? And you were born. Where were you born?
Dr. Corsi, I was born in the Soviet Union in 1990, and that later dissolved and split into Russia and Ukraine with that border there. And I was right in that middle, of it, right above Donetsk. My dad is from Donetsk, which is a territory that's been highly contested over there. And I want to kind of backtrack. I want to compliment you, Dr. Corsi. Thank you for your warm words, and thank you for the amazing year of work that we've been able to share together. I've seen you so dedicated in the voting algorithms, and exposing the fraud that has been there. You've done such a great job. Those couple weeks that we got to spend in Georgia, I've never seen anybody work harder than you have, Dr. Corsi. And I'm just honored to know you and know about your work and see it in action and the projects that we've been involved in with you in the algorithms and a couple other things. So you are really, truly amazing. So thank you for what you've done for American history. I know how important your writings have been for influencing elections in all different ways, in different elections. And you've made this country great again, and you've done it in the past, and you continue to do so in your life. And I really want to honor you for that. So thank you for that as well.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you. And I feel like everything I do has been given to me by Jesus Christ. And it's not mine. It's directed by God.
That's right.
And so therefore, my dedication is to serve God with the talents and capabilities God bestowed upon me.
That's right.
So now let's return to your story. You were born,
yes, sir.
And you speak Russian.
Yeah, so
speak a little bit. Say something in Russian.
Ну, я разговариваю на русском языке, размовляю украинскую мову, that's Ukrainian.
So you said you were a musician. You
Yeah.
were, and you said I'm really Ukrainian. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I get these languages. I begin to learn them just by listening to you all the time we spent
Yeah.
together. Pretty soon I'll be speaking Russian and Ukrainian.
Yeah, probably better than me,
No, I
with
don't know
how
that.
intellectual you are. Yeah.
I don't know that. I've, you're a native speaker in both languages.
I am, yeah, I am. I grew up speaking Russian first. I learned Ukrainian later when I would tour in Ukraine and work on projects there before the war, and after the war. I did go there during the war, which is what we'll be talking about today with some of the controversial elements that Tucker Carlson said on his show yesterday with forget the guest name. I think Sam Goodman or something like that. He had some really great things to say that I actually have written down. We might mention them later, but uh, I was shocked with a few things that I saw in Ukraine and in the leadership. Which, as an American first, if I was to go fight in a war, I would be fighting for America first, because I've spent most of my life here. I
And
have,
you're an American citizen.
yes, absolutely, yeah, I am. Mhm. Yeah, I have an approval for both passports actually in Russia and in Ukraine, but I have not continued that effort because I've been able to go into Ukraine for up to 90 days at a time on my US passport. I've been in Russia with a visa in the last few years. So yeah, it's there was some, yeah, I know you'll be asking me questions about that today. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Well, first, let's get to the heart of this because you
Mhm.
spent time with Zelensky and how did you get to spend time with Zelensky?
So with his office and with his right hand in film direction, who got him elected, which is Ruslan Hanumak. He, him and I met in Los Angeles after the war had started, and uh, I offered him some of my talents. I said, "Hey, Western art is typically rivals Ukrainian or Russian art almost in all spheres. Since we've seen show business through phones and through laptops, screens, movie theaters, whatever. Western art, because of our democratic position, where we are, I think I'm saying that right, but we're a democracy. The freedoms that we do get to pursue, sometimes overboard with all this, LGBTQ stuff and all this, whatever, nastier things that we're scaling back, Trump's scaling back, thank God. But uh, I offered some of my talents that I've been able to develop in the last 20 years since I've been on stages, singing in church, growing up and, singing in a choir and playing instruments and getting into music videos and then, content creation like I've been doing with you, Dr. Corsi. And I offered him some of the talents to Ruslan Hunumak, which was at that time in a group chat personally with Zelensky while he was here in LA when I met him. And he's talking with Zelensky while the war is going on. And he's showing me some things because I wanted to get him to open up to me because I wanted to know what the president might be saying at times. Um, you know, the what music does in my life a lot of times is I try to make it so honest and so real and so good that we can talk openly with anybody, any president, any right hand of a president, anything like that, to where the music, in a sense, naturally so, is kind of like if you want to talk in biblical terms, Dr. Corsi, it's like David playing the harp for Saul, for instance, in the Old Testament. And I use the music as a tool similarly to what David did back then. And I try to create a vibration from the music that helps myself and the person that I'm with or the people that I'm with open up, better. Especially in this case, I'm with Ruslan Hanumak in Los Angeles. The war is going on for, I don't know, about a year, I guess, at that time. And he's in a private group chat with Zelensky. And I can't believe I'm hearing some of the stuff I'm hearing, which, first thing was was Zelensky having, saved some of the messages in the Telegram group chat. Dr. Corsi had said to my buddy Hanumak, who I was living with at the time because we were writing music together that I had offered to write for him. And I honestly don't even think that Ruslan would mind coming on the show. He's such a controversial character in Ukraine that he likes speaking about truth and whatever benefits his own fame, to be honest, So this is something that we might be able to tap into later down the line too. But I thought it'd be important that we at least do this today. And thank you for allowing this time today, Dr. Corsi and Chris, your production manager. You guys are amazing. And so, I'm sitting overhearing Zelensky say a few days before the war had started, which is when I was actually personally in Ukraine as well. I've made 3 visits there over the last 3 years. Some were extended, like about a year I stayed there, was on The Voice singing on the TV show and stuff like that in season 12, which then got disrupted by the war. But Dr. Corsi, back to LA, I'm sitting with Ruslan Hanumak, and he's just, opening up to me because we're just at a friendly level now, And he says, Dr. Corsi, listen to this message. And he shows me Zelensky not taking any of the aggression, in a sense. I don't want to get too political here, with who's right, who's wrong with this whole war situation. It's just a terrible situation. I'm seeing. I have cousins in Russia. I have relatives. I have an uncle in Ukraine. I've spent time in Ukraine. I just clearly want this war to be over. This is ridiculous, the way that it's affected Washington, D.C. I was writing about it today, the Zelensky effect, like it needs to be studied, because basically what I've come to realize is we have a president in Ukraine that, like Trump said the other day, is like a modestly successful comedian or moderately successful, something like that. He tweeted on X, I think. But Dr. Corsi, I got to experience what he was saying in private conversations before the war started and some things after. And before the war had started, he was very naive. I heard him talk about any kind of potential war that might start. He says, Zelensky says in the group chat, he says to my buddy Hanumak, who's showing me these messages, he says, even if this war starts, quote, even if this war starts, we'll shut this thing down in 3 days. It doesn't matter. Putin's not a threat, whatever. And this is a president talking about what I saw while I was personally in Ukraine, when those messages were recorded. There he is. When these messages were recorded, Dr. Corsi, I was personally in Ukraine already right after a brain surgery. I had almost died there. And I had a car that struck me while I was a pedestrian crossing for a green light. They ran a red light. All that.
And I want to talk about that incident a little bit later. We're showing
Yeah.
Zelensky on the screen right now, so
Mhm.
that's for those listening on as an audio.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead, continue.
Thank you, Dr. Corsi. And, a president of a country is seeing military prowess pile up on the border of Ukraine and Russia and is not taking a potential threat seriously at all. Which, that's something that I heard him say in a recorded message to my friend Ruslan Hanumak, which you might be able to show some of the videos that we've made. We have very high productions there with Hanumak, which is a direct friend of President Zelensky. He was actually with him a few weeks ago in the office, in Kiev, downtown Kiev.
We'll have you back and show some of those videos. We'll arrange that, get them to Chris
Yep.
in advance, and on future broadcasts we'll show those.
You guys will be able to understand like how high level the production is, which was a lot of the production level was actually influenced by Zelensky, because we worked with his people when I went back during the war. And we had filmed with the military. We filmed a viral video, a music video that, was pretty controversial and quite successful too. But that was what spooked me when I had heard that voice recording of Zelensky's to my friend, which I'll try to get him on the show too. I think that he'll figure out a way to.
I would like
safe.
that. I would like that.
Yeah, to basically whistle blow and and stay safe himself, because he is in Ukraine right now, but he comes in and out, and he can come to the United States maybe, and whatever. We could figure that out, I think. But Dr. Corsi,
Excuse me.
were you saying something?
No, I'm just sneezing. Okay. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, okay. And Dr. Corsi, so that's my first interaction where I'd like to say, when I was in Ukraine, I was there up until February 16th, 2022. The war unraveled the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, right there in 2022. That's when the war unraveled. And I had a really critical decision to make because I had already just got out of 2 surgeries on my head from a near death. And I thought, I'm very hypersensitive at that time to life and death, basically. My doctor, when he performed the first surgery, he said, you have a few hours to live. The hematoma is so big, And so I got that death scare. So I wasn't playing around with my life at all, especially anybody else's life, which is what I kind of thought Zelensky's demeanor was when I had heard him talk about pre-war, like these military accumulations. I did kind of think to believe that he was quite naive and something was already off there. But, I'm still gauging the situation. For me personally, February 16th, 2022, Dr. Corsi, I, just did my research. I saw the military prowess building up, the military exercises going on the border. I saw some information from an American news outlet where they saw and tracked intel where blood and plasma was being collected across Russia and being delivered to the front lines. So in my position, I'm not blaming anybody for the war today. I'm not blaming Putin. What I'm doing is saying about what Trump is really feeling, I think. And that is that Zelensky has done a poor job at actually managing the country, which also, another thing I was thinking about, $300 billion sent over to Ukraine, Dr. Corsi. Only now, 3 years later, Zelensky complains about only receiving half of it. Listen, you and I have had financial exchanges. You've been a man on your word every time. And if you weren't, I'd be reaching out to you the same day and say, Dr. Corsi, I didn't get paid for what you promised to pay me. What's going on? Where's the money? Fortunately for me, you're a man of your word. And you send the money over, we continue to work, and we continue operations in our productions, right? And so only now Zelensky's saying 300, half the money's missing 3 years later. That's one of the most childlike things I've ever heard in my life. To say $150 billion hasn't made it 3 years later or whenever, in the process of the war, that's another crazy thing. Now, it starts to make sense for me later because initially on February 16th, I made the decision to come home. I flew out of Borispol Airport, KBP, out of Kiev, and I flew to America to, like my doctor had told me, he's like, go recover, go find some sunlight. You need sunlight to recover and restore your body because you just had a massive brain trauma and a surgery. So I'm like, okay. I go back, the war starts 8 days later. Later then I hear those messages. When I met Ruslan Hanumak in Los Angeles, I hear the messages about Dr. Corsi, what Zelensky's mood was or understanding was of basic things that are happening that are going, clearly, I was thinking from news that I was reading, there's going to be a war here. I was talking to my friends. I was saying, guys, I almost died just recently, 3 months ago. I'm in Ukraine while I'm saying this. I got to go because I was, personal ties with musicians and pastors and, a whole community I had developed in Ukraine. And I have to break up predicting that a war is going to happen, which a president, Zelensky, was absolutely naive about it. Absolutely. And it made more sense to me why, and I'm going to be getting into that. So, I meet Ruslan in LA. That's like a year after the war started. He shows me the messages that I've been talking about, the audio recordings, where Zelensky's just naive about the war. Zelensky had later deleted those messages because you can do that in Telegram. You can go back in and delete the messages because they were absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's no president should ever be speaking about military prowess like that, to where even if a war starts, we'll shut it down in 3 days. We're dealing with Vladimir Putin here. This is a beast. This is somebody who's very powerful. This is an extremely powerful man. It's no wonder that Trump went and had the conversation with him. It's no wonder before he had even thought about inviting Zelensky. And this is why I think why Trump does not respect Zelensky. And to be honest, for good reason. And I'm sure they'll have conversations and they'll have talks and whatever else. But he's going to where at least someone is probably sober. Putin is probably sober. You know what I mean? At least that's there to get into any conversation. I mean, you've probably talked to somebody throughout your lifetime that's been, I don't know, maybe just completely high on, just too high. You know what I mean? And it's just annoying. It doesn't make sense. You can't trust them, whatever it is. And so, I still, out of love for the Slavic people in whole, in general, Dr. Corsi, just love for Russians, love for Ukrainians, love for the beautiful things that Slavic culture has produced, in authors or in engineering, whatever else. I'm a fan for the Slavic people cooperating with the United States in general. I'm a fan of that because I know there's very talented people and very resource-rich land in Russia, in Ukraine, same as America. Why can't we work together? Why can't we? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Anyway. So as I continue to make the decisions to continue working with Ukrainian celebrities and, with my contact with certain people in the office of the president, for instance, there's one guy that we were working with when I had first started working with Ruslan in Los Angeles, who's literally in conversations with Zelensky while I'm building a relationship with him. There's a gentleman that Ruslan was also talking to, which is one of Zelensky's speechwriters. And this is where things are about to get pretty hairy here in what I'm about to say. His name is Yuri Kostyuk. Yuri Kostyuk. He's speechwriter for Zelensky. He was an executive producer on Servant of the People, the massively popular show that's still on Netflix, still on YouTube, that Zelensky gained a lot of fame from after his more stand-up career.
This is where he was playing the president, and
yes,
that's
sir.
there. He was playing a role as president, kind of conditioning everybody to accepting him as a real president.
Yes, sir, Dr. Corsi.
He's an actor.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
And a comedian. He did stand-up comedy before he did that show.
Yes, sir. He was a comedian. He was, an artist. And then he gained massive popularity internationally internationally as well. Obviously, first and foremost in Ukraine and in Russia too, is playing Servant of the People head actor role, right? And basically, Dr. Corsi, what I start to realize is what Ruslan is telling me. And that is, there's a gentleman we were working with, the executive producer of that show that we're talking about, Servant of People, where he plays the president. That's right. Yuri Kostyuk, my, close friend at the time, he might not, we'll see how he responds to maybe this show that comes out, you know what I mean? But I think he'll take it really well. He loves controversy. This Ruslan character that I'm talking about that we'll probably have on. So he's communicating with Yuri Kostyuk, who is sleeping in the office sometimes with Zelensky, writing some of his speeches, stuff like that. And he goes to rehab for cocaine use. And I'm like, well, that's kind of strange that somebody next to the president is taking anything like a drug like cocaine, right? Then I'm like, okay, whatever, we can deal without him. We still continue to write some of the best songs that I've ever seen performed live. Luckily, I got to co-write some of them. We continue to work on the musical project because we're not going to waste talent. We're not going to waste skill, and we're going to continue to press and influence culture in Ukraine, whatever's going on. So I'm, rooted in bringing some kind of good vibrations to the Ukrainian culture, to the president if I have to, whatever. I'm thinking, all right. So we continue working with Ruslan. We finish a song that he sends to Zelensky. Zelensky really likes it and invites us to come to Ukraine. And so when I get the invite, Dr. Corsi, I'm thinking, all right, that's a president. I don't really know that much, still don't know too much at the time in regards to where for now my position is for sure Zelensky's dropping the ball and he needs to shape up quick or he has to be ousted. There has to be fair elections. There has to be, Trump power is really going to do justice on Zelensky's career. And we have to predict that, because Trump doesn't play around. He's a serious gentleman that also lost a brother to drugs and alcohol. He lost his brother to it. And he has a perfect understanding of what a drug-influenced person acts like. And I do believe that Trump understands that Zelensky has been influenced by drugs just in a way that's way overboard. So, back to Dr. Corsi, me getting the invite to go to Ukraine from Zelensky. He invites Ruslan. Ruslan says, dude, listen, it's the president, let's go. We're going to be all over state-controlled media. We'll perform. We're going to get quite a bit of fame, these things. And I'm like, all right, I love the music. I love the music. I know it's going to bring good to the culture. So I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's figure it out. I head there January 1st, 2023. And I stayed until March 16th, 2023, something like that. I could find the flight records if you need to. And I flew into Poland and then took a bus into Kiev, all that. Because there's just only military planes flying around at the time, And Dr. Corsi, I go into Ukraine based on Zelensky's invite, and we go perform on state-controlled media. I have those videos on my Instagram. You guys can check them out if you need to, at Mike Nova Music. And, I get into celebrity culture in Ukraine. Guys that were just, shaking hands and in the office, the president with Zelensky. Ruslan is talking to him continuously, who I'm staying with, I'm living with in Ukraine, in Kiev during war, in a war zone, bomb sirens every day, rocket strikes coming in, whatever, it was gnarly, especially at the same time, I'm just a year into traumatic brain injury, recovering from that. And I'm still risking my life to go. By the way, I'm still doing this for the people out of the good of my heart. I have to, as a believer. After the Secret Service in Ukraine investigate, this is, by the way, after they investigated the guys that had crushed my skull with their car, and they're Ukrainians facing prison time that committed crimes, lied to the Secret Service about what they did to my body. And I'm still going to Ukraine because I know that I can be valuable for common people there, right? And so I'm in Ukraine kind of trembling sometimes. It's hard to sleep, insomnia, war zone. But I'm like, listen, I believe in the reason why I'm here at that time, right? And Dr. Corsi, I'm getting to know some of these celebrities. I'm staying at their houses. They're, in cahoots with Zelensky, all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, can we cut it back on the cocaine use, please? I know we're celebrities, but there's a war going on here. Can we cut it back on this heavy drug and alcohol abuse? You're a celebrity, bigger than me. I'm getting celebrity status. I want to feel some kind of, oh, there it is. Yeah.
What are we seeing there?
That's a link tree to a lot of my work throughout my career.
Okay.
A lot of things that I've done. Yeah, if they go on Mike Nova Music, click on the link, they'll just see a bunch of work that I've been involved with. I mean, every one of those videos, or I'm being interviewed by Ukrainian television in one of those links, a couple of those links, stuff like that. So, Dr. Corsi, thanks for bringing that up, Chris. Oh, yeah, Pastor Manuel Russo, you've known him. He's a great guy in Atlanta. different, a couple podcasts. Oh, Charlie Massayer, great guy too, that you guys can see on one of those links. You and I have talked to him, Dr. Corsi. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's just great, there's valuable info on there, good music on there, stuff like that. Anyway, Dr. Corsi.
And that with the Mikhail Mironov was your name in Ukraine.
That's my Slavic name. I still carry to this day. It's in my passport. Mike Nova is my stage name. It's just a shortened version of
shortened version. Yes.
Yeah. And Dr. Corsi, I'm with these celebrities in Ukraine. I'm like, guys, pull it back on the cocaine use. Pull it back. We're in a war zone here. We have to sober up, and we have to do our absolute best with our wellness, with our fitness, with just who we are on stage, things like that. Let's cut it back on this crazy stuff. Like, it's a war. I came here with a traumatic brain injury recovery process as an American, like serving the Ukrainian people and my country that I believe is, could coincide with Ukraine and benefit both with Ukraine. America could benefit. That's why I'm here. That's why we're doing this. Anyway, luckily for me, at the most elite music studio in Ukraine, it's like this 3-level house I was living at, mastering, mixing, engineering rooms, producers, celebrities coming in, whatever. I'm living there too while I went during the war. And that's when I kind of made a big deal about, guys, this drug abuse, like this alcohol abuse needs to stop.
And you're talking about Zelensky using cocaine and alcohol and drugs of various kinds.
I'm about to get to that. Certain information I found out about that while I was there. Yeah. And I'm definitely building up to that, Dr. Corsi. Absolutely. And something that spurred this podcast with you here, this show with you here, is what Tucker Carlson had questioned yesterday in the show that he released on, his platforms and Spotify and YouTube and all that. And Dr. Corsi, luckily I was able to scale some of the drug and alcohol abuse back, at least while I was there, because it was really upsetting me. Like, I'm very hypersensitive at that time, especially because I'm trying to recover my health from a massive brain trauma. And I go to get some rest at another music studio with another celebrity and his producer. And while I'm staying there for those couple weeks, we're writing songs, we're pitching songs, trying to make some money, all that. And a certain individual comes to the studio, very beautiful woman. As you might know, some Slavic women can be just, insanely beautiful. And so she obviously got my attention, she's, just very beautiful. And I'm like, okay. So we show her all the songs that we have to demonstrate for her, things like that. She stays for a couple hours, chooses some of the songs, and then goes home. And she was very interesting and unique, Dr. Corsi, in the sense that, usually people aren't that comfortable in Ukraine. And she's just walking around with just, excuse me, but like boob job, tattoos, Range Rover, just whatever. I'm like, this is not your run-of-the-mill Ukrainian woman, even if whoever, beauty level or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm like, this is not your run-of-the-mill. So I ask about her, and they say, she is the wife of the cocaine dealer to the office of the president. I'm like, what do you mean? And then those memories start coming back. Oh, that guy we were working with when we were first starting the musical project for Ukraine in LA, he went to rehab. Then I'm like, okay, hold on. You're telling me that they're delivering cocaine to Zelensky right now as the war is going on? They're like, dude, Zelensky has always been on cocaine, always. And I'm thinking, like, I've interfaced with drug culture. I've tried cocaine myself. I'm not going to lie. I've tried it. I didn't like it. I didn't like how it made me feel. I'm already pretty hyperactive as it is. I don't need an extra stimulant besides maybe some coffee or, And I think to myself, oh my gosh, a president of a war-torn country is indulging in a drug that has always resulted in the worst case scenarios for anyone that's ever been addicted to it. Then I see Zelensky come, in the media, I think maybe while I was in Ukraine still or whatnot, I see him come to DC to get another, $100 billion from Biden or whatever. And Dr. Corsi, I see, like, he's in America. It's going to be a little tough to get cocaine while you're here as a president, in Washington, D.C. It should be, at least. It should be a little tougher than back home. And I see the after effects of it. And that's exactly what Tucker was talking about yesterday, which is something's off about this guy. Something is completely off. He can't carry a straight glance. He can't make eye contact for more than half a second. His eyes are darting around the room. He's influenced by so much money coming in under the Biden administration that's unaccounted for. And he's having a party with a war. And I'm over here out of the goodness of my heart serving, Ukraine, and what I believe is just, in tandemly positive for America too. I'm serving my country, countries that I love, America, Ukraine, just Slavic people in general, in this situation. And the president is having a run at it with cocaine deliveries to the office. I know that his executive producer, speechwriter, was in rehab for cocaine use. All the celebrities that I'm working with, they're all on coke, that are dealing with the office of the president in Ukraine. And, I wanted to come on the show with you today, Dr. Corsi. I know you got to jump here in a second. I know you have another one coming up.
We've got about 10 minutes, and a couple of things I want to talk also before we end, to introduce Dimitri Kudrin and what we're going to do with him. We'll get Dimitri on a separate show.
Yes, sir.
Very, very
Yes,
soon.
Sir.
Very soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, Dr. Corsi. That's a beautiful story too. As we work under your leadership for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Finish a little bit of this, and then I'll tell you. Say we're going to switch to Dimitri now, so we got at least 5 minutes on Dimitri.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And Dr. Corsi, I'm upset. I'm upset that a president of a war-torn country that has received billions of dollars from America, from the American taxpayer, is not getting drug tested. And he should be. He should be, because there's too many predictors and things that, like, for instance, I remember him being in DC, like, a year and a half ago, 2 years. He's sweating through the makeup. There's no reason for that. The temperature is climate controlled in the room. He's a president. He can have the temperature he wants. But his heart's racing so fast because he's withdrawing from the cocaine abuse back home while he's here, and he can't, get another line or whatever. So I realized then, by the behavior of a lot of other celebrities that interface with him too, they are just not caring about the situation like they are promising to. They're not holding their end of the bargain, and they're getting checked now. And I'm glad that Tucker asked these things yesterday. He's like, dude, something's really off, because this question should be driven into the public, really, because I don't believe that anybody that's running a country in any part of the world should be having even people around that are abusing cocaine. They should not. It's going to result in horrific negotiations. It's going to result in disrespect towards President Trump, towards anybody else that's in these negotiations that are ongoing now, Dr. Corsi. And this has got to be fixed. It has to be stopped. It's just ridiculous. It's out of line.
Let me conclude here for a minute or two.
Yes, sir.
I think the irresponsibility of being on cocaine and the drug abuse, the alcohol abuse, everything of that nature, while a war is going on and people are being killed, is it's morally inexcusable.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And from being with me for as much as you've been with me, I would like to have a glass of wine at night, but I am not. I abhor drugs, and found that people who are on drugs are irresponsible and just out of their minds.
Yeah.
Now, Zelensky wanting to continue this war, continue the money flowing, continue the cocaine flowing. We've got a very strong message for him right now, which is it might be a good idea to leave the country and go to France. Or secondly, don't be concerned, or you should be concerned that you might just be arrested.
And that's where Dr. Corsi, that's where all these psycholinguistic crimes are coming from, is because somebody that's a crackhead, so to speak, is going to manipulate culture and manipulate other world leaders with psycholinguistic crimes, emotional distress, lies, whatever it is, that's just way overboard. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Well, no, I think you're finding among the British and the French, they don't want their own crimes exposed.
Yeah.
And they don't want their own pedophilia. They don't want their own involvement with drugs. They don't want their own involvement with the Russian collusion and the intelligence and all the other issues. This war never should have been fought.
Exactly.
The two provinces that you're talking about, you're Russian speaking and you're religious.
Yeah.
Well, when Zelensky started sending in neo-Nazi mobs to kill freedom fighters in these two provinces, and started burning Russian Orthodox churches and persecuting Russian Orthodox clergy, Putin had enough.
That Ukrainian law 3894 is the sickest religious oppression that we've ever seen. It is Nazi style. It really is. And that was hard for me to believe when I would hear anybody, Putin, anybody say Nazi regime. But we're dealing with the Ukrainian law 3894. And this religious oppression is beating up priests, like physically manipulating them. It's ridiculous what's going on. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, now I want to talk about Dimitri Kudrin for a while.
Okay.
Dimitri is in Alaska, and we spent recently just about 2 weeks with him.
Yep.
Dimitri was one of the first funders for God's Five Stones.
Yeah.
Okay, and he put in some of the initial money that got us started on the investigation of the algorithms, and it was very deeply appreciated, and you arranged that.
Yeah.
And Dimitri went through a federal prosecution. He's the only guy I know who the Department of Homeland Security put in jail for selling a couch on, which one was it, on the
Dr. Corsi,
he sold a couch. What was the site he sold it on? He sold it on Craigslist. He sold a couch on Craigslist, and they made him take a plea deal, and they put him in prison for a year and a day, and they stole $500,000 of his money.
Yeah, and Dr. Corsi, he clearly listed on the Craigslist listing
that
the leather was made in Italy, it was assembled in China, and the secret agent texted him and he asked if it was made in Italy. Dimitri obviously responded yes, because the leather's made in Italy, just look at the post. And then over a Craigslist text that was basically still correct.
Well, we're going to run out of time, but I want to say that this is a case we're going to bring to the pardon attorney, and I'm going to take it personally to Donald Trump. Because what you have is the Department of Homeland Security targeting a Ukrainian who was doing very well economically, and they thought he was running money for Ukraine, thought he was an oligarch criminal, and they couldn't find anything. They could find nothing. And so rather than drop the investigation, they raided his office, they stole $500,000, and they charged him over a Craig's listing of a couch he was selling.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to make a lot of this case, and I want to see him get a pardon, because we're finding the corruption is in the Department of Homeland Security. And I intend to bring this to the attention of the Department of Homeland Security and have it investigated.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to have Dimitri on the show.
Yeah.
We're going to, next it'll be you, me, and Dimitri. We'll set that up. Chris will set that up. Next week I'm traveling, but the following week we're going to have a show. And I'm going to start writing about this case. And we're going to make sure that Donald Trump is aware of what these criminal agencies are doing. They're not protecting the United States from illegal immigrants or terrorists or military aid coming into the country. They're shaking down honest American citizens, maybe Ukrainian in origin, speaking Russian, like you, Dimitri and his associates are from the Russian-speaking part of Ukraine. The two provinces close to Russia.
Yes, sir.
I was with you over Christmas. We went to a religious service. The dinner we had was, in fact, we played a Bible game at the end of the thing for the evening ending. So questions out of the Bible, see who won this team versus that team. It was, so you're dealing with a strong Christian community that wants freedom. And the American public have not been told the truth about Zelensky or told the truth about the western part of Ukraine, which has always been neo-Nazi. And Putin, I think, has shown great restraint when we have had missiles from the United States, from Italy, missiles from France, deployed by troops from each of those countries, guided by satellites from each of those countries, striking deeply into Russia. And we got an input to that. We're back channeling and trying to reassure Putin that Donald Trump was really going to solve this war. And Donald Trump is in the process of solving this war. But you'll notice Zelensky's already been marginalized. He was not at the meeting where in Saudi Arabia, and I've been encouraging these meetings occur in Saudi Arabia for a variety of reasons, including normalizing the Middle East. And the meetings between, this one was between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Lavrov, who I think is one of the more brilliant foreign ministers ever.
And the other day, Dr. Corsi, he said something that was extremely true, which I took such backlash for from some Ukrainians. Somebody tried to attack me yesterday, physically, a Ukrainian here in America, because they saw me in the media talking about what Lavrov had said. And he said, quote, Lavrov, quote, Zelensky says a lot of things. It just depends on what he drinks or smokes. Unquote.
That's right. That's right. Okay, and Donald Trump also said he was a dictator. And so Zelensky should understand right now that this is not a game.
It's not.
It's playing with people's lives, and very serious powers
playing with cocaine.
and very serious powers, the United States and Russia, are going to come together and they're going to have peace. And even this General Kellogg was not in that meeting. He was sent to explain to Zelensky yesterday that we're going to get paid back by a deal on Ukraine's rare earth minerals. That'll be a good deal. It'll be a good deal for Ukraine. It'll be a good deal for the United States, as it will be done with options on future contracts.
So sorry, some of Zelensky's advisors right now, they're sobering up and they're begging him to sign the deal with the U.S.
Well, Zelensky's got a limited period of time here. And if he doesn't wise up, he's been warned.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't listen, same with France. Macron's coming to talk with Trump. This war is going to be settled, and Russia's not going to give back the territory it's taken without a nuclear war, and we're not going to have a nuclear war. And so therefore,
everyone there is with a Russian passport now anyway. What's the point of taking it back?
And so therefore, yes, I mean, everybody I met in the Ukrainian community that's associated with you speaks Russian. You don't speak German, you speak Russian.
Yeah.
And the culture is Slavic. The culture is aligned with the Russian culture. Now we've got to quit because I'm already over time. But Mike, it's been a real pleasure. We've been with Mike Nova. We'll be back with Mike again in near future. Is Mikhail Mironov is his name in Ukraine. He's an artist, performing artist. There's his how you can find his various performances and his work. Strong Christian. And let Dimitri know that we're going to do a show and he's going to be on the next show.
And Zelensky, put a freaking suit or tie on. Jeez. Can we see him with a suit and tie on for a change?
Well, he's an actor. This is an outfit. This is a military outfit.
So stupid.
I don't think Zelensky's ever spent any moment in the military. But Mike, we have to go. I've got a hard break.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
Corsi. Chris, thank you guys so much. Check out
God
my
bless.
stuff. Yeah, at Mike Nova Music. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
MikeNovamusic.com.
Love you guys.
Mike.
Talk to you guys
And
later.
in the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too.
Amen, brother. Let's go. I love you, Dr. Corsi. You're doing an incredible job. Chris, you as well. You guys are so accoladed. What you've done for America is incredible. Let's keep making America great again, and then helping the world after that. Love you.
Let's get peace in the world. God bless.
Yes, sir. God bless. Bye-bye.